Hi students, welcome to the science class. In last session, under the chapter of sorting materials into groups, we are going to group some of the materials based on the materials which they are made, isn't it? We are going to group the materials based on their physical properties, like a physical characteristics. We are going to separate, we are going to make the group by the help of their character, like their shape. We are going to consider shape, like I am taking one example of that is nothing but the ball. It has a round shape. We are going to make groups based on the structure, that is shape, that is called as a round. We are going to write the group of the materials based on their structure. On that basis, another example I will discuss in last class, that is the materials which they are made, that is nothing but we are making some groups using, we are going to write some of the examples of the materials in that group based on their material which is made. That is, we write the some of the materials names which are made by the plastic, we write the some of the names of the materials which are made by the iron, and also we write some of the materials which are made by the wood, isn't it? Based on the material which we are going to, which the materials which is made, that is we are going to make some of the groups based on their material which is made. Now we are going to see the properties of the materials. We are going to separate, we are going to make the groups based on their properties. What is the property the material had? So under that we are going to consider first property. So see here in your home, the small wire pieces are present, the copper wire pieces. You have to take the older copper wires which are present outside the plastic cover. Take 2 to 3 thin copper wires. Using your scissors, you have to cut it and place it at one side, isn't it? Take iron wires, small iron wires, and that also you have to cut by the use of the scissor and place one side. And also you have to go to the iron shop. In the iron shop, the shop owner for his use he is going to cut the iron rods, isn't it? For example, if you are going to buy the iron pillars for your building, go and see that iron pillars at the cut part, and you have to observe clearly. And now you are going to see the differences in the goldsmith. In the goldsmith, he used to cut the gold materials, and also he used to cut the silver materials, and you have to see the cutted part of that silver material and the gold material. Is it some similarities is there in that cut material, in that cut side of that all materials, at the iron, at the copper, at the rods, at the iron shop, and also at the goldsmith shop? Is it any similarities are present at the cut end of the pieces? Yes, that is somewhat shining is present, isn't it? You have to see that clearly when you are going to cut that copper wires, when you are going to see the end part of the some of the materials which are cutted by the goldsmith. And also when you see the cut part of the iron rod in the iron shop, all the materials at the cut part, it is somewhat shining, isn't it? That nothing but that is the first property. Here I am considering luster. The property, the materials which are going to, when we are going to cut it, the cut part has some shining property, that is known as the lustrous property. Luster means shining. So which materials are going to be have the lustrous property? Almost all metals has the lustrous property. When you use to cut all the metals, is either it may be a gold, or it may be a silver, or it may be a iron, or it may be a copper. Any metal you can take. That is, when you are going to consider any metals, when you use to cut, the cut part of the material has a somewhat shining property. That shining property, it is nothing but the lustrous property. So examples for the lustrous property, it is nothing but all the metals. Write down here the materials which has the lustrous property: iron, gold, copper, isn't it? Silver. All the metals has lustrous property. So what we did here, we are going to group the materials based on the first character, that is nothing but a lustrous. Lustrous means shining. What is lustrous? Shining. Somewhat shining. At the cut part, the metals or the materials has somewhat shining property, that is nothing but the lustrous property. So all the examples for the lustrous property, it is nothing but all the metals. So we group here the materials based on the first property, that is nothing but the lustrous property. Next, you have already seen, you have already collected some of the rods here, isn't it? So if you are present in your room, or if you are sitting on the bench, try to scratch the bench. Try to scratch the bench using a coin or a pen. You have to try it. Using your pen, you have to scratch your benches. Is it possible to scratch the bench? So why? Because, and also you have to scratch the iron rod by using the coin or by using your nail. Is it possible to scratch the iron rod? Is it possible to scratch your benches? No, it is not possible. Why? Because it is so hard, isn't it? So now I am considering another one property of the material, that is hardness, isn't it? So but you are going to take a candle, take a coin, you have to scratch on the candle. It is very easy to scratch on a candle, because it is not a hard, it is very smooth. So now I am taking the another one property of the materials, that is hardness. So the materials which are very strong, that are called it as a hard materials. Write down the examples for the hard materials. What are hard materials? All metals. Iron, isn't it? Iron is a hard material. Then write down all metals. Copper, stone. Stone is also very hard, isn't it? Stone, etc. These are all hard materials. So we are grouping the materials based on the under one property, that is called it as a hardness. So next I am moving here. Take a candle, you have to scratch by using your nail. Is it very easy to scratch the candle by using our nail? And take a pen, plastic pen. So you have to scratch by using another one, any material like a coin. Yes, sometimes it is possible, sometimes it is not possible. So I am not writing the plastic here, because some of the plastics are very hard, some of the plastics are very smooth. It comes under hard and also smooth. So now I am considering the candle is the example for the softness. Softness is another one property which the materials has. So now we are going to group the materials based on the softness as a character, softness as a property. Write down the example for the soft materials here. Candle, isn't it? Write down candle. And next, what are the examples for the soft materials? So some plastics, moldable plastics, isn't it? Then tell me, wood. Sometimes wood is also hard material, but it also comes under the soft material. So, and then plastic papers, then silk, isn't it? These are all the soft materials we are going to take. And sponge, isn't it? And rubber, is it maybe a ball or anything? These are all the soft materials. They are very soft. We can scratch it by using our nail. Therefore, these are the soft materials. So what we did here, we are going to group the materials based on the another one property called it as a softness, isn't it? So now I am going to consider another one property of the material, that is nothing but soluble in water. So take some water or take a beaker, pour 100 ml of water into a beaker. Take about a 10 gram of the sugar and add to the water. So you have to stir using a spoon. After 5 minutes, what happened? Is it sugar is present in the water? Is it present? No. But where it is, where it goes, isn't it? So think once where it goes. Now take another one beaker, pour 100 ml of water again and pour about 10 gram of salt, and also you have to stir second time here also using a spoon. You have to stir it. What happens? Is it salt particles are present in the water? Is it possible to see the salt particles? No. But where it goes? So I am considering here the soluble in water. They are soluble in water. The sugar, salt, they are soluble in water. That components are called as soluble in water. The components which are soluble in water. So now I am grouping the components based on the another one property that is called as a soluble in water. What are the components that are going to be soluble in water? That is sugar. It is easily soluble in water. Next, what is soluble in water? Salt. Isn't it? It is also very easily soluble in water. Next, write down the example milk. Milk also partially soluble in water. Isn't it? So, etc. These are the materials which are going to soluble in the water. Isn't it? Now, you have to take another one beaker. Take another one beaker, pour 100 ml of water, pour chalk powder into it. Some 10 gram of chalk powder into it and stir it well. Is it soluble? Is it the chalk particles are soluble in the water? Isn't it? So the chalk powder is not soluble in the water. The particles of the chalk will be suspended at the bottom of the water, or it will be present at the throat bulk of the water. So that is, it is not soluble, isn't it? So take another one example here. Take again one beaker, pour 100 ml of water and pour some of the atta. Is there any atta? So it is you can take any atta which is present in your home, pour to the water and stir it well. Is it the atta particles will be soluble in water? No, it is also not soluble in water. Take this sand dust or a wood dust, pour into the water and stir it well. Is it soluble in water? No, these are not soluble in water. So I am considering another one property of the material that are insoluble in water. So write down the examples for the insoluble in water, the materials which are insoluble in water. That is nothing but sand, chalk dust, atta, sand dust, etc. So what we did here, we are going to consider under one property of the material that is insoluble in water. Based on this character, we are going to group the materials. That is, these are all materials are insoluble in water. This is under one property of the material. Next, I am considering under one property here, that is floating. See, if the water is present in your beaker, you have to place a token of your pen in the water. You have to place a token of your pen into the water. What happens here? Is it the token moves towards the bottom of the water? No, isn't it? Place some marbles into the water. Is it marbles moves towards the bottom? Yes. What is the difference here? What is the characteristic here? So again, another one example I am taking here. Take a small balls, put into the water, that is beaker containing the water. Is it moves towards the bottom? No, isn't it? But marbles are moves towards the bottom. They are collected at the bottom, isn't it? So I am considering under one property here, that is floating. Here when you are going to place the token into the water, it is not sinked, it is not moves towards, it is not collected at the bottom of the beaker, because it is floating at the at the surface of the water. That is the another one character the material has, it is nothing but the floating property. So we are going to group the materials based on the floating property. So tell me the examples which are having the floating property. I am taking here rubber, plastic, isn't it? Rubber, plastic, pen, token, isn't it? Anything so you can write here. And wood is also having a floating property, so we can make here a group based on the property that is called it as a floating. The materials which are floated at the surface of the water are called it as a floating materials, which are in where it is floated at the surface of the water. So we are going to group the materials based on the characteristic, it is called it as a floating. Next I am considering another one property, that is sinking. What is sinking here? The sinking is nothing but the materials which are moved towards the bottom of the water when we are going to put that materials into the water. That are nothing but, here it is in the example, the marbles, then metal pieces, any metal piece, metal piece. Then you can take anything, iron rod, stone. So these are not floating at the surface of the water, these are sinked in the water. So we are going to make the groups based on the property, that is nothing but the sinking property. The materials which are sinked in the water are called it as a sinking materials in the water. So the examples for the materials which are sink in the water are nothing but marbles, metal pieces, iron, stone, etc. So another one property of the material I am considering here, take a glass, clear glass, you can and place forward or forward your eyes, isn't it? You can see the opposite persons or the opposite objects which are present opposite to you by the glass. Yes, we can see by the glass, isn't it? So it is very easy to see the person or the place present at the forward or opposite to the glass. So that is nothing but it is very clear. I am taking another one example here. You can take a wood, any wood material or a wood plate, isn't it? Or take a iron plate, place forward or place opposite to your face and see the opposite persons or the objects which are present at the other end of the plate. Is it possible to see the persons which are present opposite to the plate? No, it is not possible to see the persons or the object opposite to the place. Why? Because it is opaque. So what is the transparent, what is opaque? And also I am considering another one example here. If you have the windows in your home, in the windows the glass which are present, we can see the persons through that glass very blurry, isn't it? Partially we can see the persons by the glass. So what is the type of that glass? What is the reason? What is the materials which the character that have? That is nothing but the translucent. So what is the transparent here? Any materials which can possess or which can allow the light to pass through it. When you are going to place the clear glass opposite to your face, you can easily see the opposite objects which are present opposite to your face or behind that glass, because it is a transparent. Transparent means it allows the light rays to pass through it. So what is a transparent here? Materials which allows light to pass through it. Is known as transparent materials. So the materials which allows the light to pass through it are known as the transparent materials. For example, you take any glass piece, or you can take a plastic paper which are transparent plastic paper you can take in your home. Take a torchlight and on the torchlight and pass the light through that plastic pipe. What happens here? The light rays will come across the paper, isn't it, the plastic paper? Why? Because the plastic paper, it is a transparent. What happens here? The plastic paper allows the light rays to move through it, isn't it? It allows the light rays to pass through it, therefore it is a transparent. So we can see the objects behind them any glass material, transparent glass material. Why? Because it allows the light rays to pass through it, therefore we can easily see the objects opposite to the transparent material. The examples for the transparent materials, it is nothing but the buses have the big glass at the front, isn't it? That is the front glass of the bus or the vehicles, front glass of the vehicles, that is a transparent plastic papers. The materials which passes the light, which allows the light to pass through it, that are called as the transparent materials. The examples for the transparent materials is, that is front glass of the vehicles, then also the specs which we can use, that is also transparent. It is very easy to see the materials which are present opposite to the specs. So the specs and etc., these are all the transparent materials. So we can group the materials based on the another one characteristic of the material, that is called it as a transparent materials. So these are the front glass of the any vehicle or the specs are a very transparent materials. Next I am taking another one character of the materials here, that is nothing but the opaque. So when you are going to place the plate or a book, textbook, take a textbook, place opposite to your face and try to see the object which are present opposite to that book. Is it possible to see the objects which are present opposite to your book through the book? No, we can't see the objects or the materials which are present opposite to the book. Why? Because it doesn't allows the light rays to pass through it, therefore these such type of objects which are called as a opaque objects. So what are opaque object is the materials which doesn't allows light to pass through it. Are called opaque objects. For example, wood sheet, door, book, isn't it? Again you can take a torchlight and on the torchlight place your hand at the torchlight. Is it light rays comes through your hand? Is it light rays comes through your hand? No. Why? Because your hand is a opaque material. So that is the property, that is the materials which doesn't allows the light rays to pass through it are called it as a opaque material. Then another one here, that is a translucent, that is the materials which are pass the light through it, that is called it as a transparent. The materials which doesn't allows the light to pass through it are called it as opaque. Then what is the translucent here? The translucent materials, that are nothing but they partially allow the light rays to pass through it. They partially allows. See, for example, take a paper of your book. Take one paper of your book or tear one paper from your book, place opposite to your face, and you can, it is very easy and it is possible to see the persons which are comes opposite to that paper, very blurry images will be present, isn't it? Why? Because the paper will possess, or the paper allows the partial light will be passed through it. Therefore, that objects are called as a translucent objects. Another one example I am taking. If you have the windows, from the window glasses we can't clearly see the faces, or clearly we can't see the objects which are present opposite besides that windows. Why? Because the windows has the translucent glasses. We can see the blur images. We can't see the clear image of that object. So therefore, that type of the materials are called as a translucent materials. What are translucent materials here? Materials which partially allows the light rays, the materials which partially allows the light rays to pass through it, are called translucent materials. Examples for the translucent materials are paper, window glass, etc. So what are translucent materials here? The materials which partially allows the light to pass through it. We can see the blurred images from the materials. We can't see the clear images. That type of the materials are called as a translucent material. So we can group, we are grouping here the materials based on the character, that is called as a translucent. So in this lesson we are going to group the materials based on the properties and also based on their structure and the materials which they are made. So this is all about the sorting. Is nothing but what is the meaning of sorting here? That is nothing but the grouping of the materials based on their characteristics and the physical properties. So, and this completes your lesson. In next session we are going to continue your new chapter. Thank you.